Welcome, everyone, to this conversation about mental health, running, and everything that deals with fitness and mental health. Today, I'm honored to be meeting one of our profound doctors in Kenya. He is very well known in practicing mental health awareness and mental health discipline and everything mental health. But today, we are here to discuss more about how mental health affects our fitness regimes, anxieties, and everything that surrounds our fitness levels, and especially even us, for us, some of us who balance work in our own professions, and at the same time in fitness as well. And therefore, we think that this is an opportunity for all of us to have discussions about this mental health, fitness, and everything that relates around our own lives in our day-to-day activities. Welcome, Dr. Mutiso.
Thank you. My name is Dr. J.K. Mutiso. I'm a psychiatrist by training and practice, and I've been at it since the late 80s. 1988 is when I graduated as a psychiatrist, and has practiced in various institutions, but been in private practice for the last 36 years.
Oh, wow. So you've been in the mental health for the last, say,
40 years.
40 years. Impressive. From your experience, since the 80s,
Yes.
how has mental health grown, in our day-to-day activities from that time and now?
The 1980s were very interesting years in terms of awareness of mental health. I think the thing that characterized the 80s and the period before that was a lot of stigma, a lot of ignorance about what mental health and illness is all about. It was even difficult for me as a mental health worker to introduce myself as a mental health worker, as a psychiatrist, because all that people knew is they associated the whole area of mental health with the floridly sick, very, very sick people who will be walking around collecting garbage and uttering incoherent things and running around completely naked or something like that, which you don't see much these days because of just the availability of services. It's very rare to see that. So that was one. The other thing that characterized the 80s was that there was very little personnel, people working in the mental health space. I remember when we went for training, there was only 5 of us, 3 Kenyans, 1 to 2 Tanzanians, and that was it in the class, in a whole class. And imagine that was all the training that was going on. And actually by 1988, when I wanted to do further training in clinical psychology, I had to go out of the country. There was nothing in the country. Now, that is so different from now. You are spoiled for choice. So many universities are giving training in clinical psychology, counseling psychology, all the way up to PhD level. I mean, you're really spoiled by choice right now. We were less than 30 psychiatrists in the country when I graduated. And right now, we are a substantial number. I don't have the latest count, but I know that the classes that are graduating with psychiatry, the numbers are significant. So that's really what is going on. There's much more awareness of mental health, which has been because of deliberate advocacy by many people in the mental health space. Yeah, because people are aware.
Okay. And why are, in your own opinion, why are high-performing professionals quietly struggling, today? In your own take, what do you,
Yeah.
or is it a fallacy of sorts?
No. It's not a fallacy.
Yeah.
There are particular professional exposures that actually set you up for certain conditions. For example, we do know, let me start with our profession. We do know that the rate of suicide and the rate of drug abuse among the professionals is highest amongst doctors. And then amongst doctors, it is highest amongst people who work in critical care. It's very high. People working in critical care, like intensive care, in like high dependency units, and that's not just the doctors. That includes all the other health workers who are working in intensive care, the nurses particularly. Now, that has to do with just the stress and strain of the intensity of work. Now, amongst the mental health, medical health workers, psychologists and psychiatrists have got very high rates of um, exposure to a lot of traumatic events. So we tend to, in my field as a psychiatrist, we are much more exposed to, we are listening to people's horror stories. And that gives us what we call vicarious trauma. And so that exposes us. And so it behooves people who are working in those kind of situations to pay a lot of attention. Now, in the corporate world and in other work situations, one of the interesting trends I've been constantly aware of is with modernity, with the pace going up, we are seeing a lot of burnout. We are seeing a lot of situations of anxiety and depression that have to do with the work space, the working space. In fact, one of the interesting trends of late has been that the corporate world tries to get more work done with less human resource. They will provide you with a lot of other resources, computers, and all that kind of support. But you find easily, I was in a situation yesterday when I was with a client who they have had attrition because of the economics. And so this gentleman is ending up now handling work which should really be handled by 5 people. He's in middle to senior management. And so people leave, or people die, the natural attrition is not being replaced, people are being laid out. And so what ends up is that you end up with people who are being stretched really beyond what they would normally do. And not only being stretched, people who are also being stretched and having to deal with areas where the expertise, because they are very good workers and they are creative, they are not able to and you go into administration and you are creative. Now that puts you in a very awkward space because you rather be a creative than to be an administrator, but yet you're grown up in the company, in the company. Yeah. So those kind of situations are leaving people very exposed to stresses and strains, long hours. That tend to expose you. Very interesting. people who are very conscientious, and if I give this job to Rono,
Yeah.
I can forget it. I will consider it done.
Mhm.
Those kind of people are more vulnerable to getting into extended stress, and they are likely to be spending extra hours to try and get a task done because they are very conscientious and they are very goal-centered.
Well, that's
They're
very true.
self-driven.
Yeah.
Those are people we worry about these days.
I remember we had a conversation back in the day, and you brought out a very interesting thing that has been recently studied, and I think it's now become a real issue.
Yeah.
And this is occupational burnout syndrome.
Yes.
Would you mind explaining that as well?
Yeah, this is very interesting because in the mental health world, there were discussions going back and forth about whether occupational burnout syndrome is a real syndrome or it's a figment of some mental health workers. But the World Health Organization have now recognized occupational burnout syndrome as a specific entity of the kind of situation I have been describing, where burnout syndrome basically is very simply defined as you've been extending your resources. Let me use a metaphor.
Yeah.
You've been burning the candle on both ends. Burn the candle on both ends, it's going to get finished very quickly.
Yeah.
And what tends to happen with the people who are very conscientious at their work, they are very capable, and they are result oriented, they will just necessarily drive themselves to the ground. Quite often is that they're given a responsibility and they will just keep doing it, and it will be at the expense of their health, at the expense of their sleep, and eventually one gets emotionally tired. So people who are in burnout have no emotional reserve. All of us have a certain amount of reserve. We can work overtime 2 or 3 days a week, but if that is going on for years, for months and years on end, there will be no emotional reserve left.
Yeah.
And then the body starts now reacting by presenting with ongoing fatigue, which won't go away. And then other things then get also upset. Sleeping patterns get interrupted with, so that even when you finally go to sleep, you are not waking up rested. You're waking up feeling like you want to stretch the night into the day, and yet you have all this extra work to cope up with. So it's a state of distress which is overwhelming. And then it starts presenting itself now in the physical ways. Appetite goes, you are constantly fatigued, your blood pressure is likely to start going up, and all kinds of other issues start coming on. Very important about occupational burnout. Productivity goes south. A very efficient man who is always known to be, man or woman, who is always known to be very productive and dependable. Suddenly, they're in the office, and a small task, like just writing an email, would take that person an hour and a half. Somehow they can't get into it, and even when they get into it, it's like their brain doesn't engage. So productivity goes down, and supervisors start noticing what's happening with you. Something is wrong with you. You're not yourself. You're not. You're not productive. Something wrong. Now, if your boss is a result driven kind of a person, they have targets to meet, and they are putting pressure on you, woe betide you. You are going to go further and further into the burnout.